Let's start with some breaking news from just a couple hours ago. MSNBC read the verdict of the Hunter Biden gun trial. Let's go to that.
We have some of the results. If we could, Ken.
I'm told we can't report it yet.
The jury
we're
finds
verifying
him guilty. Count 2. The jury finds Hunter Biden guilty. And on count 3, which is possession of a firearm by a drug user or drug addict, guilty.
Guilty on all 3 counts. Hunter Biden, Politico reports here, found guilty on federal gun charges. Hunter Biden, the son of
fucking Scheinbach.
Yeah, exactly. That was the Trump campaign statement on that. Yes,
that was yes. We have exclusive audio.
Yeah, exactly. Hunter Biden, the son of President Joe Biden, was found guilty Tuesday of 3 felony charges stemming from his purchase of a handgun in 2018. Biden, 54, is the first child of a sitting U.S. president ever to be convicted in a criminal trial. It's a year of firsts, a year of historic firsts. The president said last week he would not pardon his son. The jury of 6 men and 6 women issued its unanimous verdict after 3 hours of deliberations. That was quite quick. Biden faces a maximum, prison sentence of 25 years, but is much more likely to receive 2 years or less, or even no prison time at all, because he is a first-time offender and the crimes involved only a single gun that was never used violently. Judge Mary Ellen Noreika, who oversaw the trial, will determine the sentence. She said she expects to conduct sentencing in about 4 months. So that puts us right in October, mid-October. Biden also faces federal criminal charges for allegedly failing to pay more than $1.4 million in taxes on time. A trial that, in that case, is scheduled to begin in September in Los Angeles. Special counsel David Weiss brought both the gun case and the tax case after years of investigating the president's son. The gun-related charges spawned from Biden's purchase of a Colt revolver at a Wilmington gun shop in October of 2018. At the time, prosecutors said Biden was in the throes of addiction to crack cocaine. Prosecutors alleged that he signed the paperwork at the time of the purchase, falsely claiming he did not use illegal drugs. It is illegal for drug users to possess guns, and it is illegal to lie on gun purchasing forms. Prosecutors said Biden possessed the gun for 11 days before his brother's widow, Haley Biden, found it and threw it in a trash can outside a high-end grocery store.
What could go wrong?
Well, I love this. A man who scavenges through trash cans for recyclables then found the gun and later provided it to police. So another instance of him just leaving something in the wrong place where the wrong person happened to come across it. You know, the Bidens should really get into the waste management business. You know, they should start handling garbage themselves. Don't leave your garbage out in public. Biden is sure to appeal the conviction. In pretrial motions, his lawyers contended that the federal law barring drug users from having guns is unconstitutional under the Supreme Court's increasingly expansive view of the Second Amendment right to bear arms. Noreika, a Trump appointee, rejected the constitutional argument, but Biden's team is expected to raise it again on appeal. Hunter Biden declined to testify in his own defense. His conviction is sure to be a source of deep pain for the president, who has long worried about the impact of the case on his only surviving son. The president fears not only that his son may be incarcerated, but also that the case could imperil his sobriety. The verdict comes just weeks before the first presidential debate scheduled for June 27th. The president will face another man who is a newly convicted felon, former President Donald Trump. It's the latest episode of a campaign season that has become inextricably linked with the criminal justice system, though the Trump campaign was largely silent during the Biden trial after years of attacks on the president's son. Yeah, another election year in America where everyone is a criminal. Everyone who could possibly win happens to be under investigation or charged or convicted with a crime.
Well, this is also why it's so absurd when Democrats go after Trump's family. And I'm not saying Trump's family is any great shakes. The Biden family makes them look like the fucking Brady Bunch. It's like it's like Appalachia in his family. You got Hunter the crackhead fucking his brother's widow. You
Right.
got Biden the president ignoring his granddaughter. That what Biden knocked up a stripper. Hunter knocked up a stripper.
Yeah, that's the story.
You have all of this illicit financial activity with hidden behind shell companies and what was it in the investigation? They uncovered something like 140 shell companies that the James Biden was running all of this money through.
I forget the
Uh,
number, but it was more than one. We'll say.
it was quite it was a number that there is no legal non-hiding what you're doing reason you would have that many.
Right.
That's a good way to put it. You have Joe Biden constantly doing favors for companies that have hired his relatives, including arguably, and I would say not very arguably, Ukraine and Burisma, removing that prosecutor when he had Ukraine as his portfolio as the VP. You peel back the layers on the Biden family, and it really exposes this sick decadent aristocracy of Washington, D.C., because it's not just the Bidens, it touches on people around the Bidens. It really just gives you a window into how absurd it is when these people go up there and start talking about morality. It reminds me of, see, Hollywood dropped the pretense, but you used to have, even as, Sodom and Gomorrah orgies were going on in Hollywood, they would send out Joan Crawford to talk about morality and decency and American values. They would send these people out there. Washington still does that, and it's every bit as decadent as Hollywood was in its golden era. You just don't hear about it.
Yeah. Now the other thing is, there is the question of whether or not he will pardon him. That obviously, I think, depends on whether or not any jail time is given at all. I don't think we'll see a pardon before November. But I think after November, if he is sentenced to jail time, you will almost certainly see a pardon, whether Biden wins or loses. Because if he loses, there will be a lame duck session where he'll still be, in office for a remaining 2.5 months, where he could issue the pardon. And if he wins, well, he's a lame duck with 4 years left, so he could pardon him then. I'd be shocked if he didn't. If there is jail time involved,
he's not going to do it.
I mean, if he gets jail time, I can't imagine him not doing it. And I'll be honest with you, it's a non-violent offense. If my son were in prison for a non-violent offense and I were the president, I'd 100% pardon him. Not even a question. I would respect Biden less if he doesn't pardon him. If you don't pardon your son for a non-violent crime and you're the president, to me, you're a bigger scumbag than if you do pardon him. And that's divorcing the case from the irony that Hunter is being, Hunter has led a lifestyle that Joe Biden personally had, millions of black men locked up for. So that adds obviously another factor. Now, if I were president, I wouldn't have that on my record, right? But as it stands,
he does. But he does.
But still, I gotta say
at that point, he's the last person who should be pardoning his son on drug-related charges, given the literally millions of families that have suffered because of Joe Biden's policies. And there's another thing. I always say this: Democrats who want to talk about Donald Trump being a racist, who are supporting Joe Biden, really need to shut the fuck up. This is a man you want to say, oh, well, it was 1975. It was the times. Well, okay, that excuse is never good enough for you when it's somebody who's it doesn't have a D next to their name. You'll never accept that kind of an explanation from anyone who's not in your ideological lane. But setting that aside, 2019, he opened his campaign bragging about the fact that the segregationists that he wrote the racist crime bills with didn't call him boy. They always called me son. That tells you something about how this man's mind works. that he thought that was something to brag about. They didn't call me boy. They always called me son. What? What? And you're going to talk about Donald Trump's racism? And that's what you're going to support. You're going to support Joe Biden. If you really care about these issues as much as Democrats tend to lead with identity because they can't talk about economics without delving into their own responsibility for the hellscape that we live in, you should absolutely be burning the DNC down for nominating Joe Biden. Joe Biden should never have been able to get anywhere, but they don't care about these things. They only want to weaponize them. Figuratively, yes. Of course, yes.
Yes.
Please clap.